Arizona opened up its second game of the season, taking on Weber State Saturday night in Tucson. The previous game, Arizona beat Hawaii by a 34-point margin, beating them 40-6. During the weekly press conferences, Danny Gonzalez talked about how he felt the defense left some stuff on the table. Hawaii rushed for 67 total yards against the Wildcats defense. Even though they didn't score a touchdown, they got away with 2 field goals. Offensively, Seth Dagey and Brennan talked about Noah Fafita being a little bit sharper. The offense not having so many penalties. They had a couple holding calls by the receivers in that game. Noah finished with that game with 161 yards, going 13 of 23 with a touchdown and a rushing touchdown. Overall, it was a good performance, but this whole entire week of practice has been about detail for Arizona, getting healthy for Arizona, and getting a better understanding of both the offense and defensive system. Now, when you have a team like Weber State, the FCS opponent coming in, you really can't overlook those teams, a la North Dakota State beating Kansas State or having a tough game here in Tucson. NAU for Arizona beating them during the Jed Fish era. There's been instances in the past where Arizona has struggled sometimes against those opponents. Even last year against NAU, I believe that final score was 22-10. A little bit eerie there for Arizona Wildcat fans, but now you saw the product down the field Saturday night. Arizona started off quick. Noah Fafita hit Javion Watley for a 31-yard touchdown pass to open things up. They got a quick stop, and then the two were able to connect on an 85-yard touchdown pass. So right away, it was 14-0 Arizona, and it was all downhill for Weber State. But Noah looked sharp. He finished 17 of 22 for 373 yards, 5 touchdowns. That ties a career high for him. He was one off of tying the school record of 6 set by Jaden Delora and Tom Tunnicliffe back in the day. He got pulled midway through the third quarter. So kind of the perfect situation for Arizona's coaching staff. You're able to get your offense in there. They scored 48 unanswered points. Your starting defense did a great job, and you were able to see faces that weren't able to play in the first game get healthy and play, like Rhino Tapeatoa, and you saw others on the defensive side of the ball like Riley Wilson as well. But overall, a very good performance from the starting units. I thought Watley was very dynamic. I think he finished with 140 yards receiving with 2 touchdowns. The running game was kind of underwhelming for Arizona in this one. They eclipsed the 100-yard mark, but again, 39 carries for 150 yards. No Kedrick Rusano, who didn't play in the game and was seen with a left leg walking boot in warm-ups. So given the situation there, given how Arizona was so effective in the passing game, I thought it was a great performance for the Wildcats offense. I would give them a solid B+, maybe even an A. I thought the protection was really good. They opened up holes in the running game. There are a few penalties. They got to play smarter football. There was an instance where Noah Fafita scored a rushing touchdown. That got called back. They had to settle for a field goal. He had a passing touchdown. That got called back, and they had to settle for a field goal. So he could have finished with 7 total touchdowns on the night. Some penalties got to them there, and a lot of it came on the offense line. Even though they had a good game in general, there was a few holding calls. So you got to be more disciplined there. You had a player and Jabari Mann get kicked out for targeting. I think that does affect him for the next game, if I remember correctly. I think that's the first half of the Kansas State game. But overall, I thought they were able to get out pretty healthy, considering they were able to do the job that they needed to do, and they saw an improvement offensively and a better understanding of the Seth Dagey offense. Defensively, again, getting in the backfield. The last 2 games, Arizona has now collected 8 sacks for the season, so that's 4 per game. Great number there. They were able to create 2 more turnovers today with the 5 that they had in the previous game. That's 7 turnovers there. Last year, they finished with 28 sacks and I believe 20 turnovers. So if you're getting to those totals, you're already eclipsing them in terms of per average. So I think you're seeing a more aggressive defense. You're seeing a lot of switching. You're seeing a lot of rotation. I love what Danny Gonzalez and his defensive staff have done so far. I think the hire of Joe Salavea has paid off for the defensive line. I think Gonzalez being able to control the rhythm and tempo of the defense has helped everybody out. And then, you know what, tackling, there hasn't been a lot of missed tackles. So credit not only Coach Gonzalez and his staff, but also Josh Bringle, the new linebacking coach that filled that void that Gonzalez left as he went for the promotion. But I thought it was a great game plan. They executed well. You know, you saw the second team come in. They had their hiccups. They're able to do some stuff offensively that was really good. Defensively really good, but you're going to have hiccups. That's why they're the second unit. They're still developing, and there's some rotational players in that. So they did give up that field goal. So that perfect goose egg, that pitching the shutout that Arizona was going for tonight, it didn't happen. They came close. But when was the last time Arizona's faced two opponents to open up a season and haven't given up a touchdown? That dates back to 2010 when the Wildcats beat Toledo 41-2, and then they crushed the Citadel. So that dates back 15 plus years ago. That team opened up the season 7-1, had a downward spiral at the end there. But let's see what Arizona can do. They're now going to have Kansas State at home, who's coming off of a loss against Army, a disappointing game against North Dakota, and a loss against Iowa State. So you really don't know what this Kansas State Wildcat team is. They're banged up. Their star running back did not play against Army. Avery Johnson kind of looks like a shell of himself from the previous season, and right now they're discombobulated defensively. Army ran the ball all over them. They controlled the tempo. They controlled the clock. So there is a recipe for success for Arizona going into the next week. And again, that's a Friday night in Tucson on a short week. Army really beat the heck out of Kansas State, even though it's a 3-point game. I'm talking about physically and mentally. When you're facing a wishbone offense and they just pummel you to the ground, that physically wears you down. Now you got to make the trip to Tucson. Arizona looks to be getting healthier at the moment right now. They're gearing up for this game. It's going to be a big game here in Tucson. You know, tonight they had 40,000. The Hawaii game, they had 42,000. I would not be surprised if Arizona is able to get around 48 to 49,000 in Arizona Stadium, which should be one of the bigger games of the year. And again, it's a quarterback duel. Avery Johnson, who tore up the Wildcats last season. Noah Fafita, who was a little bit underwhelming on the road at K-State. That's a great matchup to watch. And then Gunnar Maldonado coming back to Tucson after playing 3 years here for the Wildcats and helping them get to the Alamo Bowl, transfers out. Now he's been a Wildcat 3 times, Northwestern Wildcat, Arizona Wildcat, and now Kansas State Wildcat. He'll be facing his old team. And again, they talked about it in the post-game press conference, Genesis Smith and others, how much they love Gunnar and appreciate him. But, you know, it's going to be a battle Friday night. The game's on Fox, under the lights. Everybody will be watching here. Tucson, Arizona Stadium. It should be an interesting game. And we'll have more on Arizona Wildcats on SI, the website, or follow us on Twitter at Arizona Wildcats on SI, or me, Troy Hutchison, at THutch1995, and we'll see you next time.